talking to Kata after he did it, how impressive that was for him. What did that trip do for you?
It really gave me perspective. So the community we were working in, it was obviously very underprivileged compared to America. And all the kids there, they had one school that they could go to, and the school had like one building, but it was like a community center. And all the classes that they took were like in like little like handmade shacks. It was like 4 poles and like a tin roof or like a palm leaf roof. So just being able to go there really gave me perspective to be thankful for what I have here. And it was also really cool to see, how willing to help and how happy to help everyone was there, including the children. I mean, we were at one point filling in this massive hole with a bunch of trash in it, so we had to clean out the trash and all that stuff. But then we were filling it up with like palm branches and sand. And there were like little, probably anywhere from 5 to 10-year-old kids lifting 70-pound bags of sand and like moving. Well, I mean, they were doing it like together, but like they were all just helping out, and like they were happy to help, had big smiles on their faces. It was fun for them. So just being able to see that kind of really made me appreciate, just the human soul for that matter.
One of the things that Kata talked about after that trip, and one of the things that Dad talked about after that trip, was just how much that changed, not just Kata's mentality, but that changed his game, that just kind of helped him grow as a player. And I'm wondering how you think that might be able to help you go into next season.
I mean, it really just makes me want to take advantage of what I have and all the opportunities that I have. I mean, we've got amazing facilities here that are available to us 24/7 compared to the kids back in El Cocal where it's like they have nothing. And I mean, the only opportunity they get is if they have to, pay for it. And, obviously for me, all this is free. And even then, like 9 times out of 10, or maybe even more than that, like they can't pay for it. So really it's just for me to be able to take advantage of all the opportunities that we're given here at this great university. And really, with that, take my game to the next level.
Is that something, when you think about on your first 2 years, do you think you've done that enough, or is that something that you feel like there's still room to grow in that area?
I mean, there's always room to grow. I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of late nights here and early mornings, just getting in here and getting extra work in. But at the same time, there's always room for improvement, finding little windows here and there throughout the day to make sure I'm working on my game when I can be.
Micah, what are some of your goals here this summer? I'm sure you're just trying to improve on everything, but is there anything specifically coming off of last season that you think, this is an area that I need to improve in?
I'd say the biggest thing for me, I think I definitely got better with it last year, but I want to be able to make sure that everyone knows that I can guard a lot more than just a 5. I mean, I know my freshman year, going into last year, like pick and roll situations, I feel like I was a lot better, being able to stay in front of guards. But now I want to be able to make sure that I can guard a 3 or a 4 if I have to. So I mean, in a lot of situations last year, like you want small ball, and it worked very well. But I want to be able to be on the court in small ball situations.
How frustrating was that? And it's happening all over basketball. It's not sort of unique to your team, but big men, I think, or big men get marginalized a little bit when teams want to play that way. Just how tough is it to be kind of stuck in that role?
I mean, it gets frustrating, but at the same time, it's like motivation. I mean, because that's clearly where the game's going, is being, more skill-oriented. Got to be able to handle the ball, got to be able to run, got to be able to shoot, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that's just motivation for me to work to get to that point where I can be that kind of small ball guy and be on the floor during a small ball situation.
Hey, Micah, I know last year around this time there was some upheaval and things were changing in the program and scrambling to get ready with Coach Holtman and all that. How is it different from a player's perspective obviously there's going to be more stability, but this summer compared to last summer, what is the difference? What is the big value for that and having that continuity now compared to last year at this time?
The coaches did a great job last year. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, uncertainty with the whole switch, especially so late in the game. But the coaches did a great job of they kind of proved it. We kind of proved it throughout the season, just with, them kind of understanding, getting to know us and understanding us in the same way with us for them. But this year, I think the biggest thing is just that security. I mean, we know what we're going to get, but at the same time, we have the entire summer to work, not just, part of it. Like especially with Coach Q, our strength coach. I know he came in a little bit later in the game. And now we have the entire summer to work with him. We have the entire summer to work with our nutritionist, the entire summer to work with all the coaches. And we know what we're going to get now. Now it's all full transparency. We actually just talked about that in our team meeting the other day, just being fully transparent with each other and in every situation. And I think that's something that's really huge.
This may be way premature, but is the mentality different? Because last year, everybody wrote you guys off. We talked about that a bunch of times. There were no real expectations. After what you guys did last year, people were thinking, well, now you got to go further next year. Is that a different kind of pressure, a different mentality as you go through these workouts?
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people, I think they have a little bit higher expectations for us, but at the same time, I don't know if the expectations are too high because of how much we lost. We lost the Big Ten Player of the Year in Keita, and then probably one of the greatest leaders ever in Ohio State history in Jayshon Tate, and then we got guys like scores like Cam Williams, and then Andrew Dockich, who is a leader on and off the floor. So we lose a lot with that guys, but at the same time, we're gaining a lot. The freshmen haven't come in yet, but just being able to watch a little bit of their film and get to know them personally, and then we got new guys like C.J. Walker and Keyshawn Woods come in, and they're already working, and in open gyms they're proving their talent. So they're fun to play with. They're easygoing guys, and they always try to make the right play. And with all the guys that are coming back, they're all working too, and they're all ready to take their game to the next level. So I think we should be all right.
Last summer, you said one of the things you wanted to work on for this past season was not getting tired in games. Mm-hmm. I know you had an injury this past season that kind of threw things off, but did you feel that you were able to accomplish that goal, or how do you think you did in that?
So before I got hurt, I didn't get tired. One of the biggest things to help with that was improving my body composition. We talked about it a little bit last year, like body fat percentage and muscle mass and everything. And I got down to the lowest I've ever been. We did the bod pod. I was 2%. I don't know how accurate that is. There's always some kind of margin of error because 2% is kind of low. But I definitely, I was able to go, run, jump, do whatever, whenever I wanted, and I never really got tired. Obviously there's points where you're going to get tired, but then I could recover really quickly. That was the big thing. And then throughout the year, after I got hurt, it took me a little bit to get back into it and get used to it. And then throughout the rest of the year, I kind of got back to that level again. So I definitely think it's something that I want to have again this year for sure.
And I wanted to ask you about the basketball tournament this summer. Scarlet and Gray and Big X, they're in the same bracket. So if they both win 2 games, they play each other.
Right.
Who are you rooting for?
That's tough. Man. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be the guys that I actually played with. So it'd probably be the Big Ten team. But then again, I grew up watching all the guys in the Scarlet and Gray team. So, I don't know. It'll be a fun game to watch. It'll be competitive. I know that. It'll be the young guys versus the old guys. So I think it should be fun.
Micah, you played so much as a freshman. You were a starter. And just saying everyone that you're losing, Keita, Jayshon, are you looking at this as, the biggest basketball year of your life for your, being at your halfway point right here? How big is this for you with your mindset sophomore to junior year?
It's definitely going to be a step up. We did lose a lot of talent, but that's just my opportunity to step up. I feel like I'm ready to work. I've been working. And the little time we had off, when I went on the service trip and everything, I was still doing as much as I can on the service trip. I have to get up a little early to go jog or take time out of the, free time to go do push-ups or whatever. But the time off, I was working, and then ever since we've got back, I've been working outside of doing my schoolwork. So I'm ready to take my game to the next level, and hopefully this season will prove that.
When you look at what Ohio State did lose in Keita, Jayshon, it's a lot of leaders in terms of guys that are gone. Do you see kind of, I guess maybe too early to tell, but a new set of kind of leaders, including yourself, kind of stepping up and trying to mold what this kind of team mentality will be in the upcoming year?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the greatest aspects of being a leader is your ability to teach. And with the example that, Keita, JT, Cam, and Dockich all set, especially JT. I think everyone knows the kind of leader that JT was. so, like vocally, leading by example, everything. He set the example, so guys learned from him, and from that, like guys like CJ, he's going to be our senior point guard next year. He's really stepped up his leadership role, and he's kind of, ever since he got here, he's been kind of a laid-back guy. It's just kind of his personality, but now it's been like he's been stepping up and being more vocal and leading by example and working. And then, other guys like Joey Lane, even though he's a walk-on, he's still, guys listen to him. He understands the work that it takes to be successful. He's been here the longest out of anyone here. And, even he's been like stepping up in a leadership role, which is something that he has every right to do. And then guys like me just trying to be vocal like I've always been, and then work hard, lead by example. And then it's just everyone's trying to step up in their own way.
You mentioned some open gyms and like Keyshawn and other new CJ, I guess. We're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, we've been talking about figuring that whole name situation out.
But when you're dealing with some guys that are coming in, and obviously Keyshawn's going to have to play a big role this year and CJ going forward, what have you seen from those guys in open gyms, and how much can a guy like Keyshawn help you when you guys need some depth there in the backcourt?
Keyshawn does everything right. Like, and what I mean by that, like, he could have a contested shot, he'll make the extra pass. He could drive the lane, and then it could be help side defense coming over, he'll kick the ball out. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't know if I've ever played with a guy that is that unselfish. If it's an open shot, he's going to take it, which he should. But at the same time, like, I've gotten probably sometimes I don't even expect the ball, because it's like it's a good shot, but like then he gives it to me, and then like I can make, like, it's like the better shot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's his unselfishness and willingness to make and want to make the right play is just something that, like, I've never. It's going to help our team out a lot. Just with him being able to play multiple positions and handle the ball and shoot the ball and get to the cup, like, everything he does, it's fluent. And then guys like CJ, obviously he can't play this year, but he has this like step back, especially off of ball screens. It's like normally on ball screens, big men just kind of like sit there and they try to stay in front of them because they're driving. But he has this one thing where he'll take one quick dribble forward and they make this huge step back and then shoot it over top. And like you can contest it easily, but it goes in. Like he's got that ability, and then his ability to use his body and then flip it over taller defenders is really good. So in practice, especially this year, he's really going to make a lot of people better.
And you talked about wanting to show that you can guard the forward, you can guard the three. When you had, feedback from the end of the season with the coaches, and when you look back on the season, was that stuff that they were bringing up to you where they want to see you grow, or what sort of things were they telling you that they wanted to see from you this offseason and into next year?
Yeah, it's definitely something. One of the things that, me and Coach, like in our end of the year meeting, me and Coach Holtman sat down and talked about things that, I can improve on. And one of those things that he plans on doing is, if I can do it, is guarding the four and playing the four. Because I think a lot of the time, and especially in the Big Ten, if you can have two bigs on the floor at one time, it can be super helpful, especially with how different mine and Caleb's games are. So, going forward, we've been doing yoga, or we did yoga in the postseason, and we're going to start it up here again in the near future. And just the ability that yoga has given me to be able to sit down and be quicker. The biggest thing for me was just sitting down and like having mobility in my hips. And yoga just like makes it so like I can sit down in a body squat for like ever now, and it's just like easy. So just being able to do whatever I need to do to get my body in the position to make sure whether I'm quicker, whether I need to sit down, be in better shape, whatever. I'm already in the process of working to be able to get in that position.
I guess kind of along those lines, obviously the team had a lot of success last year, and you certainly had a hand in that, but your role seemed a bit inconsistent, and I know that injuries played a factor in that too, but just overall, when you look back for your season personally, like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, how does it sit with you, I suppose?
It was a big teaching point for me, because obviously I had the injury and I was out for, I think it was about a month. And then even coming back, like I had to wear that robot. I have a brace on my ankle, and then I took that off finally. And it's just that kind of a high ankle sprain. Just like it's always there. It's always nagging. Like I'm still having super minor issues with it. I'm fine. I'm playing without a brace or whatever. I'm full go 100%. But like it's always a nagging thing. And just with the way that the team began to play while I was hurt, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, I think we smacked Michigan State. We came back from down 20 against Michigan. We smacked Wisconsin. I mean, I played a little bit in the Wisconsin game, but that was like I think 2-3 minutes or whatever. And I mean, you just got to respect that. You got to understand that's just how it goes sometimes. And that was something I had to learn, and I had a problem. I had to struggle with, but at the same time, I think it was one of the best life lessons for me. I mean, just because life's not always going to give you everything you want, and that's not how God created, life to be on this earth. And, it's just something that you just got to be patient and trust Him with everything, and then just work hard and try to get back to where you were.
I'm a little reluctant to ask you about something going on in another school, but there seems to be a lot of respect conference-wide for John Beilein. So do you have any reaction to the fact that it looks like he's staying put at Michigan despite having interviewed with the Pistons?
I expected him to stay. I didn't really. I mean, I think they interviewed him just because of the success he's had at the school up north. I mean, you got to respect that. I mean, with the runs they've had the last 2 years, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for him. Obviously, he's done a great job, and will continue to do a great job at with the team up north. But I don't look into it too much. I mean, I saw it, and I've got a very close family friend up there, John Teskey, and I talked with the Teskies a little bit, and I mean, but they weren't too worried about it. It's just one of those things where it's like I think they had to do it for publicity reasons, because I mean, why not? Because he's been so successful.
Micah, how valuable do you think that you were as a football recruiter to this program?
I mean, I don't know. So the deal with Noah, he's wanted to be a Buckeye his entire life. Ever since he was 5 years old, he had a paper up on his wall that said 5-star recruit, Ohio State, NFL, Hall of Fame. 5 years old. That was his lifelong goal. Once he started to get into the recruiting process and started to develop his ability, he kind of started to really enjoy the recruiting process and getting all the attention from all the coaches, especially being the third born and being behind 2 Division I athletes and my older brother and then me. Yeah. He kind of was the one that was kind of left behind in a sense. So he kind of really enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know. His biggest thing was, and I was actually sitting in the meeting with him and Coach Meyer the day that he committed. And I mean, the biggest thing for him was he didn't want the pressure from everyone else. He wanted it to be his decision. And I mean, that was always my intent. I was going to love him regardless of where he went. He could have went anywhere in the country and been super successful. Obviously, I would have loved to have him here, and I'm really happy he's coming. But for me, I would always tell him, I would tease him here and there about coming here. But in the end, he knew, wherever he went, I was going to love him.
You talked about, you and your brother going through it. Did you have a different perspective on this, or were you, I don't know, surprised by any part of the way that football side worked and the attention and everything? It seems like it's just a different animal than maybe what you went through.
Yeah, so I know it's kind of a newer thing in recruiting now, but just the graphics that they put out, those were sweet. I put it on my Instagram. There was one that they made of me and Noah. That was pretty dope. They didn't really do. I had a commitment graphic that I put out that they sent me, which was pretty cool. But just with the whole thing with that, and I mean, Coach Meyer. I mean, shoot, he had me ready to commit to play football. In some of the meetings that I had sitting down with him and Noah and my dad, and it was just the way the guy can recruit is just, he makes you want to go there. Because I mean, one, because Ohio State football is the best in the country. Everyone knows that. But then two, just the way that he genuinely cares about his players, regardless of. I mean, there's a ton of people on the floor, on the football team, but he cares about every single one of them and wants the best for every single one of them. And it was just one of those things where his motivation and, I mean, kind of the way he makes you feel, and I don't even know how to describe it. His just charisma with people, and he makes you want to play for him. I told you, I wanted to commit to play football. It was crazy. I was dumbfounded by how Noah wasn't just jumping out of his seats. I want to be a Buckeye, But I mean, I don't know. It was a lot of the same. He loves Noah. Noah loves him. Noah loves Coach Johnson. Coach Johnson loves Noah. And I mean, I'd say the only real difference was just really the graphic design stuff, because they sent them something almost every day, and it was insane.
Micah, you said you're 2% body fat, correct?
I'm I I'm like
in the Buck-
6.7 now, which is a little bit more healthy. But yeah.
Have you seen, because you mentioned Coach Q coming in and making a difference in the nutritionist. What other changes in your measurables have you seen? I mean, bench press, whatever you guys use to measure your fitness, where are you at compared to where you were?
Well, that's actually kind of interesting. So Coach Q is like unreal with the way the way we lift is different than I had ever lifted in my entire life. So like normally like we would do, squat, deadlift, bench, like for heavy, right? Try to build up and get your max. We've never maxed out. The big thing with Coach Q is building up, your core muscles and that lean muscle mass so you can be explosive and you can still be mobile, like injury prevention stuff. And honestly, like it's with the way that how I don't get tired. My muscles don't wear out as quickly. Like obviously you can have your window whenever, but if your muscles aren't built up, your muscles are, they're going to get tired. 2, like my mobility, my ability to sit down in a stance and like move laterally has, I think people saw it last year with how I could stay in front of guards in ball screen situations and like hedge ball screens or whatever. And then just the workouts are getting easier. I honestly, like, I've seen more like changes in my body strength-wise and like seeing little cuts here and there and like building up that lean muscle mass than I have in my entire life. And it's just with the way that he's part of his nutrition, but it's the way that the exercises that he does really focus on, the muscle groups that we need to be a great basketball player. And that's probably the biggest thing that he's done a great job with.
You said you guys had a team meeting the other day and you talked about transparency from everyone. Was that something that you felt the team felt needed to be addressed after last season, or is that just kind of a talking point, or what do you mean by that?
I think the biggest thing was just like it was a new coaching staff, and it was a lot of, like I said, the coaches did a fantastic job last year. We proved it in our success last year. But at the same time, like growth takes time like that. There are certain areas where it was just like, guys were afraid to be honest with them because they weren't sure how they'd take it, whether that be like a positive thing or negative things or something that they wanted to change or saw something that could possibly be changed for the better, And so it's like really little things. It's nothing like negative, like, oh, guys were lying to each other's faces all the time. It's not like that at all. It's really just like, if you see something that needs to maybe be brought up as a little change that we can do to make the team better, the entire environment better, bring it up. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. It's mainly just like a thing to improve the entire program in and of itself.
You were talking a lot of how the conversations with Urban made you want to just play football right then and there. So many people fell in love with Chris Holtmann pretty quickly last season. Was there one particular aspect that's most attractive about him and how he coaches, or his personality?
The thing with Coach Holtmann is he does his best and will always continue to do his best to learn how to coach each individual player the way that will make them the best, if that makes sense. Yeah. So there are certain guys who need to be, pressed on and yelled at in order to get them to learn. And then there are other guys that need to be kind of talked to in a laid-back sense, if that makes sense. So guys who are like super high emotionally, sometimes they need to be kind of settled down a little bit. Guys who need to be, give a little kick in the butt to get them to go, he'll do it. And that's probably the biggest thing that Coach Holtmann does that he does very, very well. Besides just the whole aspect of loving his players and loving his coaching staff and making it feel like a family. That was one of the things he tried to do immediately last year, was make sure that it felt like a family. Like he'd invite us over to his house, have dinner at his house, same thing with the rest of the coaches. And they always have their families coming in, all the kids running around, and it just makes it feel like a family. So besides just the ability to coach each individual player the way that is best for them, also making it feel like a family. And that's really why everyone loves Coach Holtmann. Because I think with the way he got out in the community last year, I think there was one time where he handed out donuts to all the students or whatever. Just his ability to make it feel like a family, make everyone feel welcome is a great gift that he has.
You brought it up, then what kind of guy are you? How do you have to be coached? Yelled at or what?
So for me, I don't know. There are some times where it's like, I'm a very emotional guy, so sometimes I just need to be kind of settled down. But also at the same time, with that high intensity and emotion, I also need to, I'm so hard on myself that I can kind of give up at certain points, and then I kind of need a kick in the pants. So I'm kind of a little bit of both. I'd say for the most part, I need to be coached in a way that's kind of like settling, because I get like psych myself out sometimes because I'm like always like yelling and let's go and everything, and it's just like, okay, take a break, go slower, do what you need to do, but like in a quick way, but in a controlled way. So it's just little teaching things like that. Probably more of a like relaxed kind of guy.
You kind of already mentioned this, but since with the shortened kind of summer that you guys had preparing for the upcoming season, but now, Chris Holman has like an entire summer with you guys. Is there any specific changes in terms of preparing? Like, does he have a certain, game plan for you guys moving forward through the summer? Practice schedule, or is anything different from, a summer with Thad Matta?
Well, for me, a little bit. So we're going to Spain in August.
Yeah.
And so, there are some NCAA rules where I think we're allowed to have, 10 practices before we go to Spain? So it'll be a little different with that once all the freshmen, get in and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's been like, what, guys? I want the summer to be something where you guys can relax if you want to relax, like with the weekends and stuff. Like, he wants us to have time to be able to go to the lake with some friends, go hang out with your friends, go hang out with your girlfriend, whatever, go be with your families, because this is the time where you can do that. Everyone needs some time off. You guys all know that with your jobs. Everyone needs time off. Sometimes too much is too much. And for the game of basketball, a lot of it is mental. It's a big mental game. And so when you can have that kind of a break, it's nice. Now, throughout the week, we're working, right? We got work lifts, we've got individual workouts with our coaches, we've got all that stuff. And then come later in the season, later in the summer when, it gets closer to going over to Spain, I think it'll get a little bit more cracked down on practices and plays and all that kind of stuff. But right now it's just working out, trying to improve your skills even more than what you had last year, and then give yourself a mental break. Like, don't kill yourself too much, because this is your time to enjoy, to kind of regroup and get ready for the season.
Couple more.
This might be the longest we've talked to you without asking about your jump shot. And I just wondered, did you feel you shot enough threes last year? Is that something that, I know that's an important part of your game, and I feel like maybe you didn't take as many? I don't know, where do you think you are in that aspect of your game, and is that something you're trying to do more of next year?
I think with the amount of scores we had last year, like especially a guy like Keita and like CJ, stepped up in scoring a big amount. And even JT, I don't think he scored as much, but just his playmaking ability and the way how he had the ball in his hands a lot more. I think it just kind of happened that way. Obviously, I think shooting is probably my best offensive weapon. But at the same time, it also kind of goes into what happened with the injury, and just trying to find your way back into the swing of things, because when Caleb's in the game, his game's completely different than mine. And it's just one of those things where it's just, when I was in the game last year, the biggest thing I was told to do as my role was, set screens, get off the ball screens, roll, be ready to catch the ball, and then occasionally, get the pick and pop situation. I think towards the end of the year, it kind of happened a little bit more. But it is what it is. You got to find your role with each team, and with the guys that we had surrounding, like Keita and CJ and Cam and all that kind of stuff. Those guys are all big time shooters, and when you have that, you need someone to be able to play inside and set picks and roll and open up the defense and make the defense scramble. So, it's something that I definitely would love to use more, but at the same time, you got to do what the coach tells you to do, and you got to just do it to the best of your ability.
Micah, two quick ones. One, I know the data points you have on this are limited, but we've talked a lot about changes for next year's team. How different do you think you guys will look on court? You've talked about chemistry and leadership and those changes. And then the second quick question, are you guys watching the NBA Finals together?
So going to the what we're going to look like next year, I'm not completely sure yet. None of the freshmen have come in yet, because some of them, they all their graduation stuff they have to worry about and all that kind of stuff. I think, like I said, the coaches do a very good job of letting you, learning how to coach you first of all, but then also letting you play to your strengths. So they're probably going to develop a system around the players that we have, not trying to make the players adapt to a system. So we'll see what happens with that. The freshmen are coming in a week and a half or a week or whatever. I don't know what the exact date is. So when they get in, we'll figure that out. But as to the NBA Finals, I'm watching it because I'm a Cavs fan. It's not always pretty. But I think all the guys are paying attention to it. I think there's a little bit of head bashing because I think CJ's a big Warriors fan and a big Steph fan. And it is what it is. But I think the Cavs, we shoot so much better at home. So hopefully going into tonight and then game 4, we'll be able to make some kind of run because we've been able to keep up. I mean, in game 1 we should have won. That was a joke. But game 2, I mean, even in game 2, I mean, the third quarter is the Warriors' best quarter, and we actually, I think, beat them by 3 points in the third quarter. We actually kept it close, and we shot horrible. Like, oh my word, it was bad. So we'll see what happens in game 3 and 4. Hopefully we can even it up.
You've never pulled a J.R. Smith, right?
No. I mean, everyone makes their mistakes, but I don't know.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Micah.
Yep.
Thank you.